Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch 2 video where today we're going to be talking about Lifeweaver, whom I think is finally in a really good spot. Like, now he's one of the better supports, I would say. I thought he finally got to a good spot at the end of last season. There was just one issue. His ult is one of the worst in the game. At the very least, it's the worst support ultimate in the game, bar none. Or at least it was, because now it's competitive. It's good. It can actually answer to something, whereas before, it really couldn't answer anything the same way you wanted other support ults to answer stuff. That Nano could save a particularly low character, but most likely your tank. Valkyrie can spread out big healing. Window could give you big healing. Drop the beat. That's just an instant. Everybody gets some overshield and transcendence. That can help you against some big impact ultimates. And yeah, even Coalescence can help you start a push, put some pressure on as well, damage-wise. But now that he's got Overshield with his ultimate, it can finally answer some of those things in a different way. Sure, it's going to be better than some things in some cases, worse than some things in some cases, but it's a good support ultimate now. It's actually not hot garbage anymore. And the rest of his kit was great. I don't feel like he needed other buffs, but he did. And I would not be surprised if actually we saw some nerfs in the next or, 2 patches from now, because I think he's just in a really good spot. For one, he's out heals more. He out heals every other support in the game, as we do one of the things his ult can do, which is trap people, which of course it always could, but it's just a very niche thing that you almost never see. But in that case, it did absolutely secure getting the kill onto that Reinhardt. So where I think Lifeweaver shines the most, where you should pick him if you want to, try him out again or possibly for the first time, because he was considered bad before. If your teammate tank is playing Zarya, Orisa, or possibly Doomfist. We're seeing a ton of Doomfist this season, both in quick play and in competitive. Don't know why. He's super inconsistent and has some really bad matchups. But as you can see here, it worked out. Not to say that it's always going to, but the fact that he's similar in his pocketing ability to Mercy. While hers is going to be a constant stream, his is going to be ideally the same burst over and over again, but you can, modify how long you want to charge that thing, depending on when they need it a little bit right now, or if you can charge up time and time again. But he's got a lot of ammo in his healing. I feel like if you're going to nerf him, that's probably where you would want to start, because he's got 20 of these flowers, and they each can heal a lot. And so he's got a lot of uptime. Very rarely in the fight are you going to need to reload your primary healing. And the changes to his damage, I think, are fine. You don't want him to be too good at damaging, but I think where his damage is right now is totally fine. You don't need to nerf it, and you don't need to buff it. It's in a spot where you're almost never going to use it, but you're going to do it more often than, say, Mercy. But not nearly as often as, your Lucios and your Zenyatas or your Iyaris, who's also fairly good, of course, right now. But he's really only going to use the damage to poke, like a shield at long range, because there's going to be no fall off, because it's a projectile. Maybe take down a Torb turret or something like that. Or really close range, you can get a lot of rapid headshots on, say, a tank that tried to dive you and is now low, or something of that nature. A Torbjorn, he's got a big head, things like that. He is still diveable. I don't think he was last season as diveable as a lot of people thought that he was, because if you're using the cooldowns properly for his dash, which got a buff, which I don't think it needed, but hey, it's really great if you're playing Lifeweaver, the fact that he can do so much self-healing. I think I do like 800 self-healing in this game or the next one that I do show you. I'm only going to show the attack here because the defense does not work out, because we still have a Doomfist on the defense for whatever reason. Probably because their confidence was high up off of this attack. But he's diveable. He absolutely will lose to a Sombra, but then again, what doesn't? Some tanks can lose to a Sombra 1v1. he's not that bad against Tracer. Tracer can still win that fight, but it's not like Sombra where she can lock him out of those abilities to self-peel, and he has 2 of them. Genji is also, going to be okay at diving him, but he's probably going to get away if he has one of his cooldowns ready. Nothing's going to save you from the Genji blade, of course, unless you pull in your tank to absorb some damage there for you for a second. And the life grip is great. It can absolutely nullify an ult, especially one that's just solo targeting your tank, like say they shatter them or they solo grab them, or they're in a bad spot they can't get out of the way of High Noon or Nano Visor or a barrage or something like that. It's a really, really good tool, and for a dive tank like Doomfist, and not as much Winston because he's got his own shield, but also is applicable there, and obviously Diva if she doesn't have her defense matrix, but she's not going to be in as many situations because she doesn't play the same way as Doom or Winston does, and Wrecking Ball isn't going to be in the fight long enough for you to like heal him up all the way, but it's still serviceable. It's still a tank that I think you possibly could use in that instance. But as you can see here, all of his kit now has its use. The ability to pull in a character, like a free, Uber back from the spawn room, very, very close, getting somebody out of getting solo ulted in a situation, or they're caught in a bad spot, your dive tank that's out of cooldowns, or maybe they got hacked by Sombra. It's really, really good. I think I get 2 or 3 life grip saviors on this attack here. So his heal output is the highest in the game. I heal more per 10 as Lifeweaver than any other character, and it's not close. There are some Baptiste comps that can definitely get up to those levels, and of course we've all seen the possibilities of Moira's health healing ceiling, as it were. But Lifeweaver is just going to, I think, consistently get the most heals because he's got big uptime. He's not really that diveable if you're using your cooldowns right and you have some sort of help from your team to where you're not constantly being harassed. But just the amount of heal output that he has, again, great with Zarya and Orisa because those characters do not have shields, so they are going to benefit a lot more because of how their characters are balanced. They're going to benefit a lot more from getting resources, and if a Zarya is always getting healed, and if not, she's got her bubbles, she's not going to die. And Orisa, also not having 2 bubbles, but 2 damage mitigators in her Javelin Spin and Fortify, you can cycle those cooldowns along with the big bursts that you have at your disposal as Lifeweaver to where you're going to always be in a good spot up against that Orisa. And I think Ram is struggling a bit right now as compared to where he was last season, and we are seeing a bit less of him. But you can dash away, go into the sky when he comes, punching at you or coming at you with your ult, and then you can also save somebody else. It's just he's a really good character, a really good peel character as well. He can kind of play the same role that you see Brigitte do in higher ranks. We don't really see her in Masters and below. And I mean, even nowadays, you don't even see her in Overwatch League because people aren't playing Winston nearly as much anymore. But the role that Brig would play in those, top 500 comps would be to protect the Ana from getting dove on by the Winston or a DPS, right? By whip-shotting them away, healing, rallying the Ana. Ana would nano boost you if you got, focused on things like that. Lifeweaver can do the same job, but instead of whip-shotting the would-be assailant away, he can life grip the other support, if not for positioning to get them out of harm's way, to just give them that half-second reprieve, even if you're only pulling them 10 meters or something like that. That's still going to give them a little bit of damage mitigation because nothing's going to be damaging through his little life grip there. It's not like a bubble where it can be blasted through. You're going to be invulnerable for that little bit. So whenever the enemy team has a Sombra and they're going after my other support character, I just life grip. Which is actually better in that instance than a Brig whip-shotting or shield bashing that Sombra, because the Sombra can still get the kill. But as soon as you hear that hack, boom, you grip your support partner, and things are great. They have to reset, because up close you're going to have enough damage to at the very least scare, and your other support can heal you, or you're focusing on healing the support, or you get your platform high up in the air to save either yourself or your partner, or possibly even both. Or you can use the platform to get away and then pull your support partner with you to where there's an even longer window that you're both going to be safe, right? To where your DPS or your tank can then get into the position that was then made vulnerable by their incomplete dive that they had to bail out of because of your play. So as you can see in this game, I'm just not vulnerable. And as we've seen, for 7 years of Mercy existing, a support that can output a ton of healing that is not checked can absolutely carry the game. Now, Lifeweaver doesn't have res, which is the biggest impactful thing that you can do in Overwatch. He can output big burst healing to save a squishy more so than Mercy can in some circumstances. Obviously not if they're flyers, because that's not be as much consistent damage. And of course, we all know how Mercy can pair with a flyer. But the big burst healing is not as consistent as the stream, but that burst can help you in a lot of breakpoints to save some of your squishier teammates, or your tank if they are out of position, or they got caught, or they're getting ulted, or things like that. So I think Lifeweaver's entire kit just works really well to where he can be consistent regardless of what is going on, and also isn't like a niche pick like a Brig might be, or a Zenyatta, where you're like, oh, we really need the Discord Orb to stop this Wrecking Ball. There's Doomfist from blasting us away, or something like that, right? And of course, you have the added utility of the platform to help you get a non-mobile vertical character to a vertical height, as I did with my Widowmaker, I think it was, right there. So that's just like an added thing. Granted, you're not going to be getting a ton of synergies like that organically. That's something that you might just have to trust that they know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to help them do, or you can communicate it obviously verbally if you're using in-game chat. But we know that's not going to be something that we're going to be consistently seeing in a lot of our teammates, and that's absolutely fine. So I don't think that Lifeweaver has really bad matchups. Obviously, sure, a good dive can kill him if they're coordinated, but no one's playing dive really right now outside of Doomfist. People aren't playing Ball. People aren't playing Winston, obviously below top 500, and people aren't really playing Diva. So, and I know people are a little bit higher on Diva in Grandmasters and above, but we don't really see that here, and not nearly as much as we see Doomfists, of course. So I just feel like his heal output, his ability to stay alive, self-peel, as well as the life grip, even though you might not be getting a savior every single time, you're going to be hard to kill. And if you can ruin one interaction against the enemy team, you're going to put your team in a really, really good spot to win. So heals per minute, he's top. He's very, very survivable. I mean, you're maybe only going to get 1 or 2k damage a game, but I think overall you're going, in those instances where you do use your damage, they're going to be netting kills, because it's going to be such a niche circumstance where you do pop it out to finish somebody off, or someone got really close, right? So I think Lifeweaver's great. I think he's one of the better supports right now, and that's even with Iari existing in the space right now. He's just got a really, really good spot, especially with Orisa being so good and just making her an even more unkillable machine than she currently is.